Golubitz.
Here.
Mrs. Laba.
Present. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first up tonight we have item C, student recognition, class of 2025. I'm sorry, that's true.
Here, I'd like to bring Ms. Foxwoman up to introduce our valedictorian, our salutatorian.
So if we can have Zoe and Kinsley Lander, if we can have Zoe. We have Zoe Montoya, who is our valedictorian this year in the class of 2025. Or sorry, salutatorian, thank you for that, I'm sorry for that. So Zoe has shared that she is involved in pretty much everything that she had time for, and especially those activities that she didn't have time for. She's tried various clubs such as Dungeons and Dragons, Student Council, High Beans, Speech and Debate. She was a member of the knowledgeable team for all 4 years, participated in theater and as an underclassman, and served as a team leader for 2 science fair projects. Zoe also participated in golf league for freshman year. We just want to say thank you for all of your efforts and to our students and passions and your love of language. So Kinsley is not here this evening. She's at state FFA, so no parents are here for her. Kinsley did receive the honor, earn the honor of valedictorian, and she shared that she has been the class treasurer the last 4 years of her high school, her career. She has served as NJHS as well as NHS president. She has also served as the FFA chapter reporter and FFA chapter vice president. She has participated in FFA and high teams all 4 years, in addition to being a member of FBLA for the past 3 years. She's participated in Positive Impact for 2 years and was a member of Student Council. She's competed in basketball all 4 years and served as a team captain for the past 2 years. She has competed in volleyball for the past 3 years and served as team captain this year, as well as competed in cross country for freshman year. Kinsley has competed in track and field for the past 4 years, and just this last weekend, she won the Tri-Peaks League Triple Jump Championship. And then if we can have Zoe come back up, please. So tonight, it is my distinguished honor to introduce Zoe Montoya, a recipient of the prestigious Veteran Scholarship. Each year, approximately 1,600 Colorado students apply for this highly competitive award. Out of that exceptional pool, only about 50 students, that's fewer than 3%, are selected as Veteran Scholars. These students represent the highest levels of academic achievement, leadership, service, and character across the state. Zoe has excelled academically at Wilmington Junior Senior High School. Her selection as a Veteran Scholar places her among the very best young leaders in Colorado. We are extremely proud of Zoe's achievements and the honor that she brings to our school community. So please help me in congratulating Zoe on this.
Item E, we have. Nope, sorry, we have item E, celebrations. Our children's.
Yes. We're gonna start off here with, our second overall best show and grade. We have a Reagan Smith. Attendance. Job. This. Awesome. So here's the short artwork off. Yeah. Flip it around, we can show the crowd. I got you. Make sure it's price. And again, I know there were some teachers here that wanted to celebrate with them. We have a teacher that wants to say anything before I move on to the next one.
It's just that
You should come on up, and I'll let you introduce the rest if you like.
I'd like to start off with the kindergartners. This is our third annual art show. The art show is juried by an outside jury, outside source. So these winners were selected by an outside jury. So I'd like to call up India Seekus, please, kindergarten. And then I'd like to call up Maya Perez, a kindergartner as well. Good job, Maya. Kate Johnson. And Liston Baker. And then I'd like to call up Reagan Smith, she already got the best of show, so that's overall best of show. Call up Elizabeth Nicolai. Thank you very much, guys.
I just want to say thank you to Mr. Gifford. So like he said, this is the third annual art show that he's put on. We do this after primary school and he hosts the whole event. So I want to make sure he gets recognition.
I jumped the gun a little bit just because I was excited. Saw winners and start shouting them out. But I'd like to bring intermediate school up to recognize those winners as well.
So the intermediate has a contest every year for the yearbook. We put in their drawings. So Valerie Santa-Steven is our 6th grade winner. Erin Ortega.
Stay up here for a photo.
Yeah. Our 4th grade winner is Adriana Ayala.
Yeah.
The 3rd grade winner is Opal Cordova. And then our winner for the cover is from Lanique Lee.
Ready. Next, I'd like to bring up our junior, senior high school and the Otero Arts Festival, Visual Arts.
Let me start again. Okay.
Kristen Golding Langston, so any music students that were able to come that got awards, go ahead and hang it around. And we'll run through. We had a very busy season with the music. I was very excited with so many students that were able to participate. We had 8 vocal solos that participated, 9 vocal ensembles, 7 instrumental solos, and 2 instrumental ensembles. So we did really well this year. With the high school vocal, we had honorable mention Danae Moreno, 3rd place Diana Gendro, 2nd place Sarah Lowe. Junior high vocal ensemble, we had a 1st place with Kaylin Martinez, Alyssa Valero, Talia Gardner, and Mia Jimenez. High school instrumental ensemble, or excuse me, vocal ensemble. Honorable mention was Maria Lavin and Mercedes Urban. 3rd place, Diana Gendro and Danae Moreno. 2nd place, Emma Mason and Lene Romero. 1st place, Cadence Kenny and Viviana Herrera with their song Poetry in Motion. Junior high instrumental solos. 3rd place, we have Levi Strode. 2nd place, Kaden Laura. And 1st place, Achilles Mascarenas on the belts and xylophones, playing gamelan. High school instrumental ensemble, 2nd place was a group Taylor Sproul, Viviana Herrera, Dragan Rojas, and Charles Ravenshafer, playing American Idiot. Viviana plays the French horn. With Oakley Jones and Michaela Martinez, both on the flute, playing Over the Rainbow. We had some high school instrumental solos, an honorable mention went to Landon Fisher, 3rd place to Courtney Strode, and 1st place to Maria Lavin. Overall, the Otero winners with the music, we had our junior high best musician, went to Achilles Mascarenas. The high school best musician went to Maria Lavin, and the Otero Arts Music Scholarship went to Alejandro Palacio. I'm Kelly Burke. And I had several students enter ready this year. And some of them are here, but some are not. Colby Ingrid with I Am No Longer got 1st place with her essay. Adriana Varela was 2nd with her essay called The Rocky Ford Fair. With her essay called Backstage Buzz. An honorable mention essay by Jeray Aragon called Time is Precious.
Mine was honorable mention with her essay called First Heartbreak. And then 2 poetry recognitions. Ariel Marquez was 3rd place with her poem called Hands of Love. He was also placed with her poetry called Warmth in Winter. Honorable mention. Thinking out. Perfect.
Hello, I'm Carrie Robinson. I mostly teach 11th grade language arts. And all of my winners are from my concurrent composition 1021 class. So I have a few. That are on this list, so I'm just gonna move them. So I do have different categories. So I did have a 1st place in short stories. That was Xander Cushman. And an honorable mention for Joe Nunez. For Silas Moreno. 3rd place essay for Sophia Rieger. 3 honorable mentions for Nate Ritter, Yamani Johnson, and Calvin Hill. That's it. First place in poetry for Adriana Torres. 2nd place in poetry, Joe Nunez. 3rd place in poetry, Nate Ritter. Honorable mentions for Silas Moreno and for Emily Malik. For creative books, I have best overall creative book for Maria Laban and most original book for Jocelyn Marks.
On kind of higher engagement, so I'll go ahead and read first. So for 12th grade essays, we have 3rd place, Lily Smith. And hers was titled The Mischiefs of Rocky Shore Fair. Baby Bird, and hers was titled Rise of Baby. Sitting down, one, two. Lovely. And we also had 12th grade poetry, 2nd place, Zoe Montoya with The Mature. Baby Bird, Falling in Love. Sadie Harrington, Come On In. We're called Creative Books. The most creative book was Jacqueline Becerra.
I'm Angel Ramos, I'm the high school art teacher, and I'm gonna recognize the 69th Federal JC Art Show winners. I have a good mixture of 9th through 12th grade. And these students placed either 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or honorable mention. So first one that I have on my list is Liliana Barraza with her vase titled Floral Essence. Second one is Amy Malik with her acrylic painting. I think it's called Isolation. Yeah. Oh, she has the. Sneezes and what? And perspectives and somebody fetch my butler. And she plays in her pencil drawing titled Plowing Around, her acrylic painting titled Many Men, and her charcoal titled Bones and All. And she titled in two of her paintings, which I don't have the titles. So beautiful painting girl. Artist is Roscoe. She did two paintings, both in her senior portfolio, so she didn't give me the title that she took care of all of that on her own, so that's Roscoe. She plays. She's also in the senior portfolio with her temper paint. Again, I don't have the title for it. Colored pencil titled Sunset. Last one has Zoe Montoya. She plays in multiple paintings as well. She's also a senior, so I don't have title for that. Dracula.
The Red Transfer Festival features modern. Say those flowers, sir. And 3 meetings.
Right, and then unless I'm missing somebody else from junior senior high, I'd like to bring up GTA.
Important to take, we just check a little.
Yeah.
I'm coming.
You mean that's out now?
We'll let Mary Ann know. But we're gonna take pictures of the little kids real quick. But we're gonna, all right. All of the little kids with your artwork. Gather along the wall for a photo, please.
Thank you. I go to the next. Should I get a chef? Do you want to jump in here?
Yeah.
I love there. Very nice. And then you're. All right, you ready? Everybody say cheese. Oh, what a good job. Thank you. Good job, good job. Right. Anybody else speak? Thank you. Well, I got 5 others. Sure.
All right, looks like for the most part, that works moved out. I'd like to bring GTA out, kind of talk about on their celebrations as well.
I had 11 students that went to the art show. with some blues, some reds and whatever, but, they all did really, really well. And, one of my senior portfolio, Lily Klein, got the Otero scholarship.
Yeah.
And senior portfolios there and they did fine too. And I'm very proud of these kids. I don't do it, they do it. They're the ones. And I'm gonna miss these girls a lot. My three best students. But there's some other really nice art up there and you ought to look at it because they've done a good job. We did mosaics this year. Which was new. We try new things because we're a small school, so I have to have new stuff every year. And I just want to say that these kids put their all into it. I love my job. It's the best job ever. And these kids are the best. So thank you.
Oh. I already got it, came all the way around, Marianne, you gotta say cheese.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say, my band's killer, so. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go on it, yeah, yeah.
Okay, is that everyone?
Think so?
Okay. So now we'll move on to audience portion. I have one sign up. This is Julie Ward.
Okay, I'm here tonight just as a concerned citizen, a taxpayer, and an advocate for our youth in the East Otero School District boundaries. And I want to just encourage you board members to very soon pass a policy regarding no and only biological boys involved in girls' sports. I think we owe that to our girl athletes in East Otero School District. And so I just want to be on the record that I have made that request. I think you should have all received an email from me where I sent it out in an email. So just consider it and I hope we see it pass in the very near future. Thank you. You have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Item G, approval of the agenda. I move to approve, wait,
I recommend. Yep. Yes, I recommend the approval with changes. We're done here. The change that was submitted was an updated quote for the math curriculum. It was updated just to be more precise in the numbers that we need for everything as far as student count, teacher count, consumables.
so moved. Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda with the published changes. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Mrs. A. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. S. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines,
Aye.
Mr. Colovitz,
Aye.
Mrs. Leba,
Aye. Item H. This is to accept Dr. Blanco's resignation and approve the mutual separation agreement.
Make a motion to accept Dr. Blanco's resignation and mutual separation agreement. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve and accept Dr. Blanco's resignation and mutual separation agreement. Questions, comments? I did want to say that Dr. Lingo has offered his resignation in order to pursue other interests. And he'll be available for the districts until June 30th if we do need his assistance or expertise. Roll call.
Mrs. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. S. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines,
Aye.
Mr. Colovitz,
Aye.
Mrs. Laba.
Aye. Item I. We have chosen to, or well, it is recommended to appoint Jared Wilson, our Chief Academic Officer, Richard Romero, our Safety and Security Officer, and Heather Nelson, Business Manager, as the interim committee that's responsible for managing the day-to-day operations of the district.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Jared Wilson, Richard Romero, and Heather Nelson as our interim committee. My statement to that, or our statement would be that, the reason for that is these three district employees, alone are not quite, superintendent, and we didn't want to go through that process of, doing the interim yet, but we still have things that we need to get done for the end of the year. So putting them together as an interim committee, will cover our academics and then operations and financial. So these three district employees will work together to help advise and make recommendations to the board until the board has completed a new superintendent search. And it is important for this time of year just to continue the collaborative work in those areas. And they'll also work on a district staff communication plan and point of contact. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Mrs. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. S. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines,
Aye.
Mr. Colovitz,
Aye.
Mrs. Laba.
Aye. The item 2, consent agenda.
We make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. And that's for personnel approval and approved resolution authorizing signing of checks in district bank account at First National Bank and Colorado Bank and Trust. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Mrs. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. S. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines,
Aye.
Mr. Colovitz,
Aye.
Mrs. Laba.
Aye. Item 3. Minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting and the 2 special meetings. Second.
Yes, motion and a second to approve the minutes of March 24th, regular meeting, April 1st, 2025, and April 15th, 2025, special board meetings as printed. Questions, comments, or corrections? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. S. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines,
Aye.
Mr. Colovitz,
Aye.
Mrs. Laba.
Aye. Next, we have presentations. Natalie Brown and Sandy Mallett with our Santa Fe Juvenile BOCES. Good. Good. I. Oh. You are. Thank you. Like special treatment. So yes, I'm Natalie Brown, Executive Director for Santa Fe Juvenile BOCES. Thank you guys so much for having me, Sandy, to kind of share what exactly is BOCES. So I'm gonna go over that just real quickly. Okay, you told me what to do now. Perfect.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Perfect. All right.
You're good.
All right, thank you so much. So what does BOCES actually stand for? It means Board of Cooperative Educational Services. And underneath the Board of Cooperative Educational Services, you as well as 6 other member districts in this region join together in efforts to allow us to provide services for all of you. It's a collaborative effort to help form for students, families, community members, et cetera, to receive programs and services in this area. It is unique in that we are an extension of you. We don't work in isolation. It is a great partnership. And so what does that mean regarding what this partnership is all about is that BOCES exists to supply the educational services to school districts that alone you cannot afford singly to provide for your district. So it is an advantage and it's a cost-effective model to join with other smaller districts together to provide these services and these programs. across the region. These services represent that financial commitment and is best met by the needs of all districts sharing that cost in that program. In many instances, including ours, we provide your special education services and we're the administrative unit, meaning that we are the responsible party to the State Department of Education for special education. So here is a list. You have a packet in front of you that provides a very detailed list of all of these services that we provide. I'll quickly go through them. As BOCES, we provide an audiologist, an autism team behavior interventionist, child certified occupational therapist assistance, extended school year services, grant management, gifted and talented education and coordination, hearing interpreter, hearing teacher, alternative programs such as SIL Academy, which we'll talk about a little bit more, induction program, occupational therapist, physical therapist, preschool special education, professional development, projects coordinator, school psychologist, secretary, speech therapist assistant, SWAT team, transition into post-secondary, and vision teacher. I will also like to say, to kind of expand past this, a lot of the services that we provide is a culmination of what district leaders suggest that we as a BOCES provide to each district. So it is a cumulative, that's why it's a cooperative of everybody coming together to say what it is that best serves the districts. So the BOCES doesn't make a single decision of what's best for everybody. Everybody joins in to say what is needed for as a whole group. We have a kind of an hidden role, but basically it's that at least if 2 districts are saying that they're in need of something, we as a BOCES help to provide those resources and those programs. So for example, with a grant, districts by themselves pursue getting grants on their own, but there are some cases where the federal government or the State Department of Education will ask that a BOCES be the host of those grants. And so we come together and say, who across the region would like to seek out those grant opportunities? So the BOCES houses it, but then all the districts benefit from the grant if they so choose. So it's a great way that we can kind of come together, again, combining resources, supports in order to make sure that everybody benefits from that. So students are able to get a lot more without the burden being placed on each individual district to do that by themselves. So the SEAL Academy. SEAL Academy is a branch of, it's a specialized program that we have. And this is a therapeutic environment that our students receive, again, as an extension to. This is not a school, it is a program. And what's really great about SEAL Academy, it does not belong to the BOCES. Students that attend SEAL Academy still belong to the district. So they are your students, or they're students of their member districts that they belong to. Students that come into this program are right now between preschool to a secondary level. But right now we have a very high saturation of students in the elementary level. We don't have a great deal of students in the secondary level. That was a decision that was made a couple of years ago by superintendents, wanting to ensure that we are putting more focus on early interventions for younger students. Students are able to get support not only academically, but also behaviorally to get supports in that arena. And it helps them to have a more structured environment, again, an extension of what they may not be able to get from their school district because of, if you think about a continuum of services. Once a district is somewhat out of opportunities of what can be happening in the general education setting, this allows another alternative for students to get additional support without being it the most restrictive. This environment also helps them to get a pace that's very similar to their peers while they're still at SEAL Academy. And we make sure that the curriculum is still at their own individual ability, but still in as best alignment as we can with districts. As you can imagine, we have to partner with multiple districts trying to offer curriculum, which everybody doesn't choose the same curriculum across all the districts, but we try our best to make sure that it aligns so that students are able to easily transition back to their schools when they're ready, based on a variety of criteria to make sure that they can easily transition back when they're ready and able to do so. Any questions? What is SWAC? SWAC. Sandy, do you want to help?
Sure, like statewide assistive alternative augmentative communication. So on those they cannot communicate in normal ways with technology, which are voice activated things. We have a team that is trained in deciding what is best. Help them choose what works.
What's the enrollment and seal?
Currently, we vary between 20 and 30, 25 and 30 students. The numbers sometimes vary due to the fact that students are transitioning sometimes part of their day back in their brick and mortar school. And some of their day they're still at seal. So it's kind of averaging about right there at this moment in time.
You happen to know how many are Lahana students?
Yes, the last time I checked that, I want to say we were at about 21 students. I believe is where we are currently at. And they do range, just to kind of tell you, from preschool to ninth grade. Lahaina traditionally, I could also add this, if that would be helpful, has traditionally had a very high population of students at Sibley County.
And that could just be that because we're a bigger district, so we have more students, or do you feel that we have things that we can't provide specifically in our district, so it's necessary for us to have that partnership so that our students have that opportunity?
I'm gonna lean into Sandy, because you know more of the history on that part of it.
Sure, I think it's a combination of things. You guys do have the largest numbers. Seems like kind of sometimes draws a lot of kids that are high need because Lahaina does have so much to offer. So I don't know, as principals can probably help out more so than I can. I do have to say that Lahaina really has some strong systems in place in their buildings. So it isn't just their answer is to send them to seal. They actually go through that process. And that is one thing that we do require before they go to seal. They have to go through a process to show that they cannot be successful with interventions and so forth that are being tried in the district, in the school. And that's kind of my job is whenever they send a referral to me, I go back and say, is there something else that we could be trying before we send them to seal? It's because of strong processes.
What's your max number of students?
I would say about 40 students currently has always been about our max. I would say that's the number of
Yeah, I think
students.
that's the highest 49 was like.
Yeah.
Just on a positive note, in the last 2 years, we've transitioned probably 8 to 10 students back to the 3 just last week.
The goal of SEAL is to get them back in their schools as quickly as possible, is to teach them the skills that they need in order to be successful in their home districts. So we don't like to keep them very often, very long. Well, and then like you said, it's a program and not a school. I think some people have the idea that it's like a charter school. But if it's a day program for students with high needs, and then not just from so if we didn't have BOCES and we didn't have this program, then each district would have to fund their own, what is it called, our administrative unit, right? And then that's not really cost effective, right, for each district to do that if we pooling our resources into BOCES.
So are you saying for special education, or are you saying specifically for CEVA? I just want to make sure to answer your question correctly. So regarding like the services and the programs that we offer. So in the state of Colorado, there's criteria for what it takes to basically be your own administrative unit. Basically to somewhat stand on your own and be able to have the resources and the services that can be provided. As just an example, we have been in, as you guys can imagine, you guys see this all across the news as it is. We are having a very difficult time in education right now filling positions. And so specialists are even harder to come by because in a clinical setting, physical therapists, speech language pathologists can make a lot more money in hospital settings than they do in school districts. And so partly it's the cost savings of coming together and pulling those resources together. But for example, I'm just gonna kind of throw something out there. A smaller school district, let's say, I'm gonna use a district not even in our system, like a Branson that has less than 20 students in a brick and mortar setting, to hire a speech language pathologist is gonna run you anywhere between, about 60-some thousand on up. The services that they can get from BOCES is gonna be about that same amount of cost, but that's not just for speech language pathologist, that's gonna give them a psychologist, that's gonna give them a PT, that's gonna give them an OT, that's gonna give them professional development, it's gonna give them the gamut for the same amount of money. So it's cheaper that they join together and expand those resources across the board versus just hiring one specialist. And the problem is being your own administrative unit as well. They're responsible for all the state reporting, whereas both the BOCES cover all of that for each individual district. The state right now has a very specific criteria of what that is to kind of stand on their own. School districts can easily apply for that, but they have to be able to demonstrate that they can cover all areas of special education on their own in order to do that. Yeah. And some do, some have applied for it over the last several years, and some have separated, and others have joined in and out of different BOCES across the state. Larger school districts, I'm going to use examples like in Pueblo, Colorado Springs, Denver, they're large enough because of their resources, their enrollment, their number of students, they're able to hire ample amount of service providers because their budgets are large enough to do so, because they have, I'm going to use Denver Public Schools, when you have 90,000 kids, you have a funding source that can certainly cover that. I will say, even in Denver Public Schools, they still even struggle to provide special education services, because when you have enrollment of those numbers, it's still really hard to cover all of those costs. So we're all behind in special ed in a nutshell, but I really love that the BOCES model is what it is, because we can do more work together than we can do apart for our kids.
Natalie, can I ask you a
Yes.
question on the SEAL Academy?
Absolutely, please.
So we are the only place in the state of Colorado that has a program like SEAL Academy, that is run by the BOCES. There's one other place in Colorado Springs that has a school that's like this, and actually we patterned SEAL Academy after that school. But we're the only one in the state that has a program, because it's hard, it's tough, it is very challenging to run a program like that. And we have a great group of superintendents and a great board and so forth that help support that. So much so that we had legislators come, and I've been on a legislative committee because they would like to try to figure out how to replicate this program throughout the state, which is very, very, very difficult to do. But I just want to say that we bring kids in from all outside of our BOCES, and we charge them more. But we bring kids in because nobody has programs like this. And in the districts that don't have programs like this, they do have to make like their self-contained classrooms. And it is very, 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 very expensive. And not quite as effective, because they don't have a full-time clinical and educational counselor that's right there with them. So I don't know if that helps with the SEAL Academy side of that, yeah, it's unique, very unique. And right now we're the only one in the state that have been for the past 20-some years.
Can you tell us what SEAL stands for?
They changed the name, so it's on your slide. Yes, it's still in like, tell me back. It's Southeast.
Alternative learning and.
Thank you. Yes.
I'll go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. There we go. Yes. The Southeast Alternative Learning Academy.
I don't know if many people knew that there was an acronym, so I just wanted to.
I know, we love that in education, right? It's all about acronyms.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you also very much. Appreciate your time. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
Just before we move on, I just wanted to make sure I said thank you to BOCES. I know even just the little bit that I've gotten to start really working with them. If I ever need anything, it doesn't matter time of day, I reach out to them. They write right back to me. They give me some advice. They give me whatever support I need. I mean, as good as situations where I wake up, I think it was like a Monday or something where some stuff had taken place in the community and in the valley. And Natalie was the first call that I had that morning to say what resources are available, how can we support? And so really just the human side of BOCES that I've got to experience is tremendous. And I just want to tell them thank you, because they help us out in ways that are not always just documented on paper. And it means a lot to us. So thank you guys.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we're moving on now to our interim committee's report and recommendations. Operations.
As always, I'll be about 45 minutes. First of all, I spoke to you guys back in February, talked to you that you guys know about the SSD grant, the school security disbursement grant. We got 300 and some thousand. Just this past Friday, got notification that we got an additional 197,000 for that. I owe a big thanks to some of the junior high school kids who actually attended the safety summit in January. And at the end of the summit, we did some sort of survey. And a lot of kids indicated on the issues with the senior high school. So the SSD committee reached out to us and said, hey, we might be able to help you. And when, after kind of just talking to them and talking to the best grant people, it wasn't looking feasible that we could use the SSD monies for roof repair simply because if we use that money for roof repair, then rip it off with best grant money, maybe there are chances that best. So I reached back to them and says, hey, you know, we did have a no project. Is there any way that we could get some more funds to continue on our project? They said absolutely. So we were awarded that on Friday, so I'm pretty happy for that. They'll put a big dent in project that I got. So that's that. Currently working with our maintenance director. We got our summer projects that are going to be firing up here at the end of school. We'll have our normal, you know, floors and carpets, just things of that nature. But there's concrete repair that's to be done over at we're gonna need like that. Once we get those finalized, they'll probably address those things. Probably usually comes in the June number this one. Christmas. We'll have those all put together. And also getting with directors and principals to get kind of their needs list, not necessarily their wants, but the needs that we kind of have to have. So we kind of get a good idea of what it's going to look like from the state level. So we're working on those and I'll get those over to Heather so that we can get them happy to build the budget. Make adjustments accordingly. Moving on to some staffing stuff, Frontline, which is our new application, website, software, place to apply. It's actually a pretty cool system. I went and created an account and to try to apply for a job just to kind of see how easy of the process it was. I actually found some wrinkles, if you will, in it. Got with Don, we fixed those and it made it a lot smoother. But I can tell you, I was in the portal today and there are quite a few apps in there already. So I think this is going to be pretty huge for our district, simply just because it's going to be a lot easier for people to apply. We are also going to set up a computer at central office for those that don't have internet access or access to the computer in general. We'll have a computer set up there so that they can just come into the office and apply for whatever position they need. Don will help them out with that. Jared and I also spoke with our HR director, Dawn, and she is going to be here to present HR stuff. Things to y'all. Next meeting, the director to May, so she'll be here next May. That is coming May to you guys report on that. Insurance. We are staying with Citizen. We're going to continue to stay with them. Our school district self-insurance pool. There's just so many benefits to them. We've been with them for a long time. We've signed to stay with them. And now with this exception, she'll finalize the changes and get it back, and we'll have a quote to y'all. June meeting. Our health, dental, vision, and life insurance had a big 0% increase all across the board. So that's huge for the district where we don't see any major changes on that. So we are going to stay with Anthem for our medical insurance. But again, a 0 increase on everything across the board, which that was good. May 1st is a big day because we are going to have open enrollment for our health insurance starting May 1st through May 15th. I think she put out an email today concerning that. May 1st, we will also have American Fidelity, who is our cafeteria plan folks, here that day as well to be into all that stuff. So May 1st is going to be a busy insurance day. Mark Hubie, am I saying his name right? Hubie will also be here on 5/1 from 12 to 3. They'll be over at central office during those times for any staff members that may have questions concerning their health insurance. And so they can't make those times. They're emailed on And just let her know that they can arrange a time to maybe figure out some other way to meet with Mark.
Just to add to that, I know that we've had a lot of conversations, that Dawn is kind of headed with Mark to kind of, as we heard some of those, from Meet and Confer notes and people that were struggling through those things on how we can communicate better, how we can get the information that Mark has to all of our people better. And so I know she's had a lot of those meetings with him to try to set up more opportunities so that he can come in and have some of those conversations and address those things. And so we're kind of trying to streamline some ways that we can communicate, and utilize him, so that it's just.
Any questions as far on that piece? I'm gonna jump ahead and go into the role.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So I don't know how long ago this was, look at the age of myself. At some point, we used to have a maintenance list where we were on rotation with upgrades that were happening to our district. Do we still have that list in place? And if we do, what's next?
I think we have some sort of that. That's a good question, because I remember we used to have that on that big board downstairs. And I think Crispin's actually running that list maybe on his computer. So that's something we could definitely put together and provide for you at the next meeting, or maybe June meeting. That'll
Just
work.
know that we started the project here at the intermediate school. We were working on floors, and then I don't know, I spent a lot of time here today and I realized that not all the floors are the same, so obviously we haven't finished speaking. So just checking up on that.
Yeah, we can certainly put that together.
For that grant meeting, what project is that going for?
So it'll continue with our access provider.
At the junior senior high, right?
Right now, yeah, junior, senior high will fix the gym over there. And depending now, I gotta meet with our guy, we're gonna try to bleed over into actually starting some interior access. Right now, the previous budget was there to do exterior, but this will allow us to start interior stuff. So that'll put a big dent in it, then hopefully next year, the SSD will come out again. Like everything else, it's up in the air, so.
I had a thought about me conferring some of the things that was given as feedback, and people not having access to all the resources they would need. Would it be beneficial to our staff, maybe before we head back into a new year, to have like a teacher resource night where we put all of these respective professionals in one place for the teachers to access all at one time? It makes sense to have maybe a financial advisor there, an insurance rep there. Maybe we bring in a tax professional that helps you go through how to fill out your W-2s, because that's not always common knowledge. And then that really helps our new people who are just getting started. That helps our veterans really ask any questions they want to. We did that one teacher appreciation event, lady brought in like the people who did the ear acupuncture or whatever. Equally important, but maybe we should prioritize helping them get their financial house in order before we help them relax. Their teachers, they don't really relax, but maybe just putting together a beneficial fair with local resources where they can all come at once. And if they feel they need additional help, then they can get on the schedule with the correct professional. But at least it's all at their fingertips. They know what to expect. And whether or not they take advantage or not would be their choice, but at least we provide it.
Sure. I think that's a fabulous idea, honestly.
I have a quick question on Frontline. How does that work? So somebody submits an application, it then goes to HR, and then HR forwards it to the.
Based off, she has it preloaded in there, so say for instance, if the high school does a position there, it'll go to Don, Jeremy.
Oh, so I'll have to do it to everybody. Okay, I was just curious.
Anything else? On to financial report, please forgive me as I read from the script, I'll try not to sound like a robot. These are the quotes that Heather left me. So I did talk to you about staying with them, obviously. Advocates, we put on our budget. It was gonna be the budget in that the county system. And moving forward, we can utilize the budgeting tool that's within the SDS system. with that budgeting tool, it's gonna make the ironing portion for the gals so much simpler. I think it might have been just an option in that system that we just weren't aware that there's gonna be built into there, so. That'll be a huge help for them. She should have a rough kid for that, but she should have a rough draft completed by the first part of May. Then Heather will go over and make any changes that they need. Final budget will be completed and ready for board approval on the June board meeting.
We'll see a copy of it for them.
I'm sure that it's getting close, and so, again, like I told you, I was working on the needs list from directors and principals, and so I will suspect we would see something probably at the end of the year or so. Let's see. Final budget will be completed by June. Kim is also working on creating board reports for Heather to present financials to you all. These are out of STS. Once she has been completed, this is Kim, she would like to come to the board and present to you to show all the different reports that are there. She is looking at wanting to do those types of reports monthly rather than quarterly. Yes, you all can decide if that's something that you want to stay with or go to monthly. But she also, when she creates the reports, you guys can look at them and see if that's something that you like, want to change, you know, formulate it however works best for you guys. Moving on, Dimitri from the auditor is finalizing the fiscal 22-23 single audit, which is your grant funds. And he's currently working on fiscal year 23-24 audit. Last week, Shane and Heather finished all the journal entries for Lisa from Redlands. That itself is a huge thing, just the journal entries alone, it's like entering stuff in your checkbook. Those are done, that's for the 23-24 year. Heather will keep the board updated on any changes to the audit and when Dimitri is close to finishing the audit. In addition, we are working on the accounting inter-controls questionnaire by Dimitri for the audit, and she'll be sending those back to you in May for any changes and recommendations. And last but not least, as we've all been hearing, funding is still not finalized by the state feds, and Heather will keep you updated as she finds out. That was my rendition of Heather.
Thank you. Do we know a date? Because we passed the date, right, that it needs to be, do we have an extension again?
That I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'll find that out from Heather. These are out of town till next week.
Alrighty,
Wait, sorry, did anybody else have questions for the Heather part that he can't answer? Anybody have any questions for Richie to relate to Heather?
She might be watching. Heather, if you're watching, write this down.
Okay, sorry, Jerry.
no, you're good. I guess I'd just like to start off my report with looking at next board meeting. It looked like it was gonna fall on the 26th, which would be Memorial Day. I just wanted to throw out there, I didn't know if we need to discuss an opportunity for a different date for that is or not. I just wanted to throw it out there to us so that we're all on the same page.
Last year, we moved the May meeting to the second Monday of May.
Are we gonna start scheduling the work sessions back in again on the second Mondays? We did that in the first part of the year and then after. Then potentially it kind of dropped off. I think that we should, but I also think that that will kind of run in with like the training from Dan and then like our strategic planning and then talking about policy updates. But for now, do we want to move the regular meeting in May to the second Monday? Or do we want to? I don't know if people are going to be out of town, if we're going to be gone or not. That'll be okay for me. How about anybody else?
Yeah, that would, my only concern about that is I think we need to move it from Memorial Day, but if we can meet on May 12th That's gonna be almost 6 weeks. Before we have enough. Be at the end of June. That seems to be,
But really, maybe not, I mean, an official meeting, yes, a secondary, maybe
work session.
work session kind of set up.
Well, we still have to have,
Yeah.
we have to do that.
Yeah.
So,
And then we have graduation.
Yeah, and that was kind of, as we looked at that, may just get so, convoluted.
We do all things in May.
Yes.
Baseball with Fran, doesn't matter. Yep. Coming up.
With that, no problem. 12, perfect. Awesome. All right, so moving on to my TNTP update. We are going to be going to our kind of our kickoff conference, that begins June 9th through June 12th. We will kind of just as a timeline breakdown, beginning early May, I'll be meeting with TNTP as we kind of look at our snapshot data that they collected in February. Wait a minute, not February. Maybe it was February, March, can't remember off the top of my head. They were just down here, kind of pulled some of that data, put together some of their reports, starting early May. We're gonna start out with the meeting with me as well as TNTP. We're gonna go through some of that and then kind of coordinate how we're gonna plan with the rest of our leaders as we kind of go to our building leaders, structural coaches and things of that nature. I was also introduced to a gentleman, his name is Josh Smith. Josh Smith is going to be, he's kind of like the boots on the ground worker for TNTP. He's a third party contractor. He comes in, and I'm sure he'd love to present and give you his resume as I listened to it. Had some turnaround school knowledge, middle school principal knowledge. Seemed like it was a great fit for us. And so he's going to work with TNTP. I'll also mention him again, whenever I talk a little bit about the strategic planning. As I get more into that, but he will be coming down. We'll start working together, and within the month of May, we'll have a couple of meetings get ready to go. So as we step into June, we have our goals kind of set up as far as how we want to start planning out the start of next school year. And with that, we're going to meet. Those 4 days will be designed each day for all of our school leaders as we progress through the first 8 weeks of school. Josh is going to help us put together all that data, put together what our goals are, work with some of our UVA goals, so that meeting in June, as essential as it can be, is as essential as it can. UVA, we also have UVA here on the 27th. I'm not sure yet if it's going to be virtual or in person, but we do have them here on the 27th as we're going to continue. And then we are also going to be prepping for our July conference, where we will go. It's the 13th through the 18th. The education leaders, principals, will be attending that conference with UVA as well. Yes. Testing, as we kind of we looked through, in the last couple of weeks, we've had 3rd through 8th graders that have taken CMAS, ELA, math, CMAS as well. 5th, 8th, and 11th graders have taken the CMAS for science. We've got 9th grade that took the PSAT for 8th and 9th. We have 10th grade that took it PSAT for 10th, 11th grade that took the SAT. And so as we've started looking at all these different tests and all this data, the district had also looked at this program called Aubrey. I know we've kind of mentioned it in the past. Aubrey essentially is going to be a data warehouse. It's going to allow us to look at all this data together on one program, if you will, and then be able to pull in other data such as attendance, things of that nature, so that we can kind of make some connections between correlations that we might see, for example, attendance and test scores, just to make sure that we're getting the best perspective of that testing data. I think it's something that's good, but it's something that's new that we're going to kind of work with our building leaders to see what data we really want to investigate and what data we can kind of isolate to have that better picture. Moving on to our grant section. I know Richie had talked about the public safety roof grant. We are still ramping up with our best grant right now. We have a meeting, I believe ours is going to be the 15th. I think it's at 10:45, if I'm right on my head. Right now, that's going to be a virtual meeting, and I'm going to prepare for the best grant. I've been working with a couple of different representatives from CDE. I'm also reaching out to a couple of superintendents that have won the CDE, or I'm sorry, the best grant previously. And seeing how, kind of what tips, what things that, I can be best practiced for, so that when we prepare to present on the 15th, that we're ready to go. You know, is set up the best that we can. I believe it was last meeting, we talked about, what we're gonna do if we don't get the best grant. One thing that we've kind of looked at again, Richie did an amazing job getting back with this, with that public safety grant to see if it was feasible. The way it looked with spending that money and then potentially turn around getting the best grant, I thought just didn't. It wasn't feasible. It looked like an opportunity that we could be not being as efficient as we should be with everybody's money. And so it just didn't feel right. One thing that we had talked about, as well as Mr. Crispin, and kind of looking at, in the event that we don't get this best grant, how can we start identifying our I don't want to call them our hot zones. So essentially the places that we're having most issues with within the roof, and allocating money monthly to that, so that in the event we are able to get the best grant and replace it all at once, we're not just throwing a ton of money in at the same time, all at once, and then having to replace it. But we are addressing those needs because we do see the needs for our kids. We see the trash, we see the water leak, and we see that. We're just trying to figure out financially the best route to go. And so we have done that. That's something that as we kind of prepare this budget, that we're communicating whether or not we can have set that budget line, that monthly we can do that. We worked with Crispin to kind of talk to a couple of different contractors to see what that might look like, kind of identify those options. For strategic planning, I kind of talked a little bit briefly about Josh Smith, TNTP, third-party contractor. We talked about whether our strategic planning was going through Empower TNTP. We presented with CDE. We originally had named Empower as our strategic planning go-to. That was the company that was going to cover everything. They helped us get, we got our grant to pay for our board training. Everything was strategic planning. It all went through Empower. What was really nice is Empower and TNTP and myself got together, and rather than pulling in just an entire different philosophy from Empower has agreed to work with Josh as well. And Josh is going to be a third-party contractor between Empower and TNTP, so that as we move forward with our strategic planning, it will all be underneath the umbrella of TNTP rather than just another entity. We don't have to use all Empower stuff. They're going to help us support the work that we're doing with TNTP to make sure that everything's as aligned as possible.
Is that all been communicated to the state? Are they cool with that?
Yes, I guess I should say, from my recollection, yes, that's what's going on. I've been meeting with both TNTP and with Empower, and then meeting with Dr. Sam Snyder to make sure that we're kind of following along with that. They also have a field agency of superintendency that kind of help just make sure that you're checking off those boxes, make sure you're following everything. I'm meeting with them as well to make sure that anything that we do need to present to CDE, that we're all on the same page.
Any other group?
Yes.
So from my understanding then, it was not in our best interest to use the grant money that you received towards the roof, because then it's just wasting taxpayer dollars. On one hand, by doing that and then ripping it off, we are awarded the best grant. But then on the other hand, if you do make those repairs, then that changes our need when we apply for the best grant, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing that is, as we continue to communicate with the best grant committee, I want to say her name was Katie, I'm sorry, I don't remember off the top of my head. That is a question that we kind of had this whole time as we were looking at all these other grants. What money or what changes might impact our ability to receive the best grant? And that is one thing that if we did a bunch of money, a bunch of renovations, that would impact our best grant. As we're moving forward and looking at the possibility of, if we had to, worst case scenario, put in those monthly installments, I want to make sure that I'm coordinating with the grant committee for best grant and make sure that we're not doing anything that would jeopardize our money for that as well. What I'm really trying to negotiate them with is that they're going to have to meet me somewhere. We got a roof that's leaking and dropping water. we have a need for money, but we're kind of caught in between, and I can't also sit on my hands and not do anything either. And so, I'm gonna kind of try to, thread that needle, see what I can do to negotiate and take care of the best that I can at the moment as we're waiting to see whether that grant can go through for us or not. But yes, that's a very valid question. It was something that we were not sure of, that we started doing a lot of digging into because we did not want to jeopardize all the work that had gone into this and the opportunity for success if we did it.
We were kind of in a pickle on this deal because the SSD money had to be spent. The project completed by June 30. Well, we're gonna have to rub the map on that, but apparently what they wanted to give us versus what the road was gonna cost. Is where it would be feasible, and again, we didn't want to ruin the chances at the pedestrian, so.
So you found a different use for the money and got it in a way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, here's we've been awarded the best grant in
That day, right?
when?
I think it's right, quick turnaround. I don't know. I know that I assumed it was all on the 15th, but as I looked through the schedule, there's enough presentations. I think they've spread it out 13th, 14th, and 15th. If I remember off the top of my head. And so I know as soon as those are done, they'll let us.
Right, didn't
No, I'm glad you asked that because that was something that I really had to look into to make sure and still want to continue to look into, so I don't jeopardize anything that route. Awesome. And then the last thing that I have just to discuss, we heard from the last meeting about a hall pass. Essentially the scanning system for kids commuting between classrooms at the high school. Just wanted to give some more information on that. Essentially, we were funded from a grant that was the school health professional grant, which I believe BOCES helped us secure. Essentially, what this does is it's allowing us to provide a better security for our kids in between classrooms. It seems like right now we're finding where, I guess let me reset for that. One thing that we liked about this program was that it allowed you to see what kids were on at what specific time. And the reason I say this is because we're starting to see whether you have conflicts. And I looked at this system more from a counselor's perspective. If as a counselor, you're working with kid A about problems with kids C or B, and they're worried that there might be a conflict whenever they're going to use the bathroom or something along those lines. We're able to sit and use that program to identify, okay, we're having an issue with student A, student B, student C, so that in the event that they may be all the way on the north side of the campus and going to use the restroom, and they sign out, we're able to tag so that student B and C, it'll flag them, say that they're not able to use the restroom at that moment. As soon as that student checks back in, other students can check out. And so it kind of allows some different perspectives on how we can establish a better protocol for safety that way. But the other thing that we kind of talked about as I met with principals was that I didn't want it to be a gotcha type of a system, but really a data collection system. It's something simple as I broke it down. If they take 2 minutes out of 5 classes every day, that gives you 10 minutes a day. At the end of the week, you're looking at 40 minutes of instruction time that they missed. And then you look at it for 10 weeks and you're looking at 400 minutes that kids weren't in the classroom. Now, maybe there's a health concern, maybe there's legitimate, we're not trying to go after and chase that rabbit into the gotcha systems. But what we do want to look at is, hey, parents, when we have those parent-teacher conferences, when we're saying, hey, your kid's struggling, what does that time look like for your kid? Then it also opens the avenue for things that leaders can look at and say, I noticed in this one class, we have so many kids that are gone. Is it because it's right after lunch? Is it because maybe our kids are really struggling with math at that time? And so it kind of gives us just a different perspective to look at data and where our kids are and see if those minutes can tell us something that we can train instructionally to help support our kids. And so I know that there's kind of some different views on that. I know the district had looked at using something earlier, I believe it was called Salamander for the same type of attendance tracking. This was just an affordable that came from a grant, and it's giving us a better perspective on where our kiddos are, where they're not, and where those minutes are going, and how we can make better choices to support them. Yes, and Mr. Romero.
So it also is integrated with our SIS system, Imminent Campus, so it wasn't a large portion of money that was able to add this, provide us with this add-on. It was just a very small portion, or a lot of different opportunities for us to look at data. So we're really empowering those students, in a way to understand what they need to do and where they're going and how they can, take a look at another layer of leadership within their education. So it's just trial and error, figuring out what works best and how we can support our students, looking at trends. Like, Jared was saying, trends has been very helpful. And figuring out what early interventions or what different interventions we can put in place for those kids.
Thank you.
Is this something we're looking at district-wide, or is it just?
Right now, we're kind of starting at the junior, senior high and seeing as we go. I think it's something that we could, potentially look at. But, again, that management system looks very different for scanning, you know, at the high school level versus, this is Miller at the primary level. And so just kind of looking at that, and see, and kind of looking at our need to see, you know, what that helps us.
Question on that, when we get to all these test results, we need to get those.
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I know when we do NWEA, those are usually really quick off the top of my head, but most of the time for our CMAS scores, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're not gonna know until next year. What's the date? It's usually, it's like second month of school, right?
Yeah.
September, they have a date, but essentially that's,
So now, it's for a while.
yeah, long term. Thank you.
As a teacher, a little faster.
That's
As a teacher, a little faster.
And we do get the data back, it's just it's harder to do the last second month. So we're doing that the final one.
You know, questions? Let's move on to this. Okay,
I recommend to approve certified staff employment renewals, resolution 2025-2N, resolution 2025-2P, and resolution 2025-3.
So moved.
we have a motion and a second to approve certified staff employment renewals, resolution 2025-2N, resolution 2025-2P, and resolution 2025-3. Questions or comments? Roll call?
Mrs. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. S. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines,
Aye.
Mr. Coleman's,
Aye.
Mrs. Leba.
Aye. Item B,
Am I allowed to elaborate on this one or just give my recommendation?
you can give your recommendation and then elaborate.
So I give my recommendation to approve the capturing kids' hearts renewal.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second to approve the renewal of Capturing Kids Arts Program in the amount of $20,850 as presented. And what did you want to offer?
That is also being paid for, and correct me if I have the wrong one, but it is also that school health professional grant. So it's basically, we pay for it, that grant reimburses us for that money. The other thing that I wanted to highlight, and I don't want to steal any of Mrs. Miller or Mrs. Griffey's thunder, but we got a really exceptional award using that program. They just, the amount of work we're seeing, we heard it whenever we did our CDE report. You know, we're starting to see the benefits of those programs and be acknowledged for that. And both our primary and intermediate, what was the exact term? It was the
National Showcase Schools.
yes. So they did a tremendous job with that, and we're being honored for that. I think it's a great program, and I'd like to continue with it.
That was a big part of the CBE.
Yeah, I mean,
They bought that.
it is, you know, we have a lot of academics that we need to cover. But one thing that we're gonna have to always go back to is the culture and the climate here. And that's one thing that I do think our primary and our intermediate are really starting at the roots. And then we have Ms. Jen and Mr. Ken kind of facilitating that as the kids are growing into our secondary. But it starts with the culture, everything's in the culture. And they are setting a fine example of what our expectations are, what our gold standard are, and what we want to get to.
Is
that
there a
program
program
process.
for the high school in TTA?
I know there are programs, but I know they're not using CKH.
I just want to put out there for anybody who may not be aware, we were doing CKH for quite some time, so we weren't selling the Board of Education, State Board of Education on the program. We actually been utilizing it for a long time. We're just seeing the fruits of lots of labor, right, guys? Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. S. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines,
Aye.
Mr. Colvitz,
Aye.
Mrs. Leba.
Aye. Item C,
I recommend to approve the purchase of the new math curriculum.
I make a motion to approve the purchase of the illustrative math curriculum for grades K through 6 in the amount of $75,898.36. Second.
we have a motion and a second to approve the purchase of. Is it illustrative?
Illustrative.
Illustrative.
Why do you just call it IM? A lot of people just IM illustrative.
Whatever I said about that.
Our new math curriculum for grades K to 6 in the amount of $75,898.36. Questions or comments?
Was there training that came with this? Is this something that was talked about?
Yes, so, the professional development is not included in this quote on purpose. We're looking at how we can use some different funds to help support, with that professional development. I also, when I met with them, I was very clear that how crucial the professional development needed to be. And with that, I even wanted it separated in the purchase agreement so that it would be on that professional development, when it was gonna happen, how often it was gonna happen, and how it was gonna happen. Not a huge fan of the virtual PD stuff. I know that sometimes there's a time and place for it, but I wouldn't be very specific with what that looked like and the type of PD that our teachers are getting. If I'm being just very, very frank about it, I really get frustrated whenever, especially as a teacher, I went in to professional development. It was a sales pitch for something they've already purchased. And so I was very transparent with them that whenever we do this professional development, it's not gonna be a sales pitch. They've already collected the paycheck. Here's what we're gonna look at professional development. Here's the specific needs that we're gonna need for our staff. And so I have it separated. I do have an agreement with the company that we will outline it. If I can find a way to purchase that with different funds rather than just these funds, I'm gonna do that as well.
Do we know about how much that portion of it will cost?
Right now, it looks between 8 and 10 grand.
Is that per year?
Yes. And it kind of depends, they have separate packages on, you know, they have like their silver, bronze, gold, platinum kind of packages on which one you go with and what that looks like.
This curriculum will start next school year,
Yes,
so the training will happen. That's.
Yes, I know I wrote down our specific days, our best days. We're gonna try to make sure that we have our training from IM before we start the school year next year. So that's something working with him. Another thing that we looked at was tons and tons of people that I talked to, whether it be district or CDE that used IM, they were hiring out different math consultants to offload IM. That's something that I'm working on as well, so that we can provide some professional development to all of our, you know, to our primary and immediate building leaders, our instructional coaches, of the best way to even break down PDs, what typically teachers tend to struggle with, what the trends are with that. And so I'm looking at providing some of that professional development for leaders as well prior to that, so that as we offload this curriculum, it has a nice chance of success. One thing that I also met with them on is with this professional development is helping us build this roadmap, so that as we're working throughout the school year and we have our Wednesday PLC meetings, we're also going to have different meetings that are designed specifically for the new math curriculum, so that it's not just a one day for the school year. Here's your math, try to digest everything and then go have fun. It's gonna be, here's our math curriculum, here's how we're gonna offload it. I anticipate us having this meeting X, Y, and Z on these dates. And so we can kind of reconvene, see what our needs are, and see how we can best support it.
Is it also like parental tools? Where you can then, you know, learning tools for parents to help the kids?
Yes and no. There are some additional parent tools. One thing I kind of mentioned about whether or not we were gonna go with an additional company for the online portion. They kind of highlight more in that realm. But I do know that even right now, someone could go on, create their own, any parent can go on to IM, create their own login, and have access to our full curriculum. Minus the hard copies of the books. I mean, they could essentially print the curriculum out, but they could be able to access that. That is something that I think, especially going through year one, that we kind of survey our parents on and see, if it's something that we get through this year and parents are going, man, we really need more to help support our kids at home, then that's something that we could reconvene, and look at, purchasing for the next year, or, maybe go on with another company that has that niche, if you will. What I find is it seems like just about every company has decided what their niche is, and everyone just does everything just slightly different. And so that might be something that as we navigate through, some of the feedback that we're getting, this will be a learning curve for sure for everybody. And so as we continue, I've had a lot of conversations with our instructional coaches about how when we're unloading this, we're going to provide opportunities for people just to kind of share some very honest feedback, how they're digesting the system, how they're teaching the system, but also from parents from home, how they're able to support their kiddos if it's completely different, and if we need to offer some trainings for them in that area as well. One thing that I really like to get to is not paying outside resources for that, if that makes sense. I would love for the opportunities, the professionals that we have in our buildings every day working with our kids, to have nights where the community comes in and communicates what that looks like, how we can best support each other and kind of strengthen that relationship rather than just having a resource, if that makes sense.
I got a couple of questions. So it's my understanding that once we implement this map system, there will be no deviation from the system. Is that right?
Yeah.
Everybody will be on the exact same page, teaching the exact same thing.
As black and white and on paper as that sounds, yes, that is the goal. Will there be times that we're gonna go through and see that we're gonna have some needs? Yes. When I'm working with instructional coaches right now, we've got a few days set out this summer that we are gonna deep dive with staff to look at making sure that all the standards that we want to cover for next year are hit, when they're hit, how often they're taught, and see is there situations that we might need to supplement or situations that we need to come back. Our goal is to be able to provide teachers with these curriculums that are strong enough that they don't have to go to teacher pay teacher, they don't have to go to these outside systems to supplement it. Now, there are going to be times I'm sure the staff are going to come to a situation and think they could teach it better with a different resource. Our goal for that is to make sure that those sources are vetted, that they're research based, and that they're not just kind of coming from anywhere on the internet. And so as we transition for this, that is our goal. It's not something that we're just going to go in and recommend people for deviating from the plan, but we want to make sure that we're having conversations with them on it so that those resources are being vetted and that there is up to the level of rigor that we're wishing them to be.
And the reason for the question, I've been hearing this a little while, and we have in the past purchased new curriculums where people felt maybe it didn't really jive with what they wanted to do. They didn't like it for any reason, so they decided to deviate from what we were teaching. And then we bring SCAP into our buildings and they tell us that we don't have any curriculum alignment throughout our classrooms and that our buildings don't talk to each other because we've all deviated from what we really like to do and what we spend a lot of money purchasing. Unbeknownst to the board, we come to find out that that's in fact not what we're using. So I just want to make sure that we are being good conservators of taxpayer dollars, and when we spend $75,000 on a curriculum, that we in fact give it the best college try that we can, to make sure that we're not spending money frivolously, because obviously we do have other large projects we need to penny attention for.
Yeah. No, thank you for recognizing that. Like I said, it's always our goal to streamline that as much as possible. Something that I've been very open with is we are spending an incredible amount of money on this curriculum. And then on the other side of things, there are people that are making a lot of money on this curriculum that have the degrees, they have the practice, they have the data to support why they're doing it. Myself, I do not have $1 million curriculum that I'm selling to somebody, right? And so as we do this research, as we're looking at this, we are putting our emphasis on the fact that it has been researched. They do have the data support that it's successful, and when you compare that to systems that don't have that, it makes the decision really easy with which curriculum you should be going with. And that is the initiative of the district to get aligned with the curriculum that we have found to be researched. It follows our maps. It hits the standards, the priority standards that we want our kids to have throughout that school year.
I'd also like to discuss what we tried at one time, and I'm aging myself tonight, I guess. So at one time, a long time ago, we offered, parent math nights. So as a parent who went to school just a few years ago, you know, we don't learn math the same way. When I'm sitting down with my daughters to do homework, I'm like, go ask your dad, I don't have any idea. We invited parents to come in, they didn't bring in their children, and we had our staff sit down and walk them through some problems where they can ask questions, because the last thing you want to do is have your child come to you for a problem and you can't give them a confident answer, or you give them the answer and they come home going, it was wrong. You know, that's every parent's worst nightmare. But this is a great opportunity for us to re-engage with our community, let them know we're putting forward a new curriculum, and we want to be as transparent as possible to help everyone get on the same page for success. We bring them in, we serve them dinner, we encourage them to ask questions in a space that's safe, where you cannot feel silly for asking questions, but really give them the tools they need to help their children.
You know, I appreciate you saying that. Again, as you're speaking and I'm hearing you speak, I just keep hearing culture, culture, culture. Or I could turn around and I know that I have leaders that I can empower and that they will empower to take, you know, chances and offer those opportunities for families. You know, I think it's huge. I think it goes back to the buy-in, community relationships, the things that we're working on, that outside of the curriculum, but we'll support our curriculum. Thank you for saying that.
And that is something we are discussing in our planning, correct?
When we applied for the EASY grant, I believe it was, didn't we try to allocate some of the EASY grant monies towards, is any part of that going towards funding them?
Yes, every part that I can make fit, it's gonna go for that route. That's kind of more towards what I'm looking for the professional development and things like that. That I know that there's I wish I had more information to give you guys as well, but there's another portion of the EASY grant that came available. The deadline for it was Thursday, that I was working on, and it will also hopefully provide us with opportunity just for summer programming, offloading of new curriculum, training, or basically essentially what is being utilized for is training our professionals here to be the leaders in the community and the leaders in our district, rather than always looking to pay an outside source or somebody from Denver to come down and teach it. I want to get all of our people on a level that they're teaching each other with their peers, and we're able to pay them for that and use grants to do that.
I know we're running into the night, but I'm gonna put you on the hot seat for just a minute, because you said something and kind of piqued my curiosity. So, first I want to start with this particular, curriculum was recommended by TNT, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then you had said before that this is going to replace our Saxon math,
Yes, ma'am.
and then, so, like Angela said, you know, this is a lot of money, but you also said that, you know, we want to try this, but then if it doesn't work, then next year we'll go with something else. So I want to know first, when we made this decision to choose this curriculum, did we have staff when you were talking to your instructional coaches? Or, so like, did we already go into that?
Yes.
And then I think more clear, I think what we're looking for is I just lost the word. Fidelity. That was the part we were looking for, is, you know, we had some, like you said, like there are some teachers who are like, wow, I want to use this instead. And then like, so that will be communicated, so we're not just all over the place. And then, so, I mean, this has to be a group effort, and I want to make sure that we're supporting our staff with what they need in the professional development, and that, like, you know, it's not like the day before school starts and they've got an idea of what they're working with. And I think you guys wanted to try this earlier before spring break, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Just with some, just to rearrange the funds and things like that, we had to get allocated. Now that we got that squared away, it is my understanding that it will start as soon as tomorrow morning, this will be sent off and we communicated with him about, signing paperwork and getting things rolling, to get this as soon as possible. We'll have access to all the online stuff, just to kind of recircle back some of the things. If I said that it would be something that we do a year and then try something different, that's not my intention. What I was trying to say, what I was trying to say was that if we go through a year and we're finding things that we need to supplement different, whether that be more communication with our parents, whether that be, that's more kind of what I was trying to say was that we need to stick with the system and make sure that we give it its time to make sure that we've given it the fidelity that it needs. But there might be things that we go through going, man, this keeps burning us. This building, we keep missing this piece. Is it that the curriculum doesn't offer it, that another company might offer that piece too? Is it something that we need to work on together? Is it something that we're just not communicating? And so as we work through that, there might be other resources that other companies do that offer the same curriculum, that we might be able to pay for an additional service or something like that. So just more like supplemental, but still IM. If that makes sense. Yes, yes, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say that out loud.
Yeah, no, you're good.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else? Questions, comments? Oh, one more. I think Angela probably, we're both a little bit jealous that there would be an opportunity to log on so you can see all of the lessons, especially for me now that my kids have graduated. But I love that for everyone else.
Well, and let's face it, as much as I'd like to say there's gonna be no bumps and bruises along the way, we know that there's gonna be. And so I think one thing that we as leaders have to do is communicate with all of our people. Hey, this month, this is what, here's the kind of roadmap of what we're looking at. So even if it's not signing in and saying, hey, here's what we're gonna be coming up, here's what's gonna happen the next 3 or 4 weeks, anticipate this. And just really be open with our communication. There's gonna be some frustrating parts. As much as I want to say, no way, it's gonna be perfect, it's different, you know, and when I researched it, you know, that's what I'm gonna go back to. When I researched it, that was one thing is that we'd had some district input, we'd had some people input, but we didn't have a ton of outside input or some CDE input. That's what I really started doing when I worked for Scott. He was reaching out to these different schools. And that was the biggest thing they said was, it will feel like a 180-degree change for your staff. And we fully see that. We want to anticipate that. We want to support that and acknowledge that there's going to be some frustrating things for them. But every person has said that it is basically you could take the safe route and go with some other programs that'll be easier just to hop in and teach day one. But your end result is not going to be your gold standard. You're going to settle and you're going to get a silver. So, you know, it just seemed like the right time that we want to jump in the deep end. We want to get a program that looks like it is giving us gold standard, has data that looks like it's giving gold standard, and we run with it. We do our best to support people and communicate what's coming ahead.
Roll call. Mrs. Ayala.
Aye.
Mrs. S. Ayala.
Aye.
Mrs. Hines.
Aye.
Mr. Coleman's.
Aye.
Mrs. Leba.
Aye. Board comments. Yeah, I was going down the line. Great, does it? Made him nervous.
Just a couple of things. First of all, I thought that those recognitions tonight were really great. Yeah, I think as a district, we should be really proud of everything that those kids accomplished. And we've done without great staff, faculty. So thank you for what you guys do. Thanks to Richie and Jared for stepping up, and you guys did a great presentation. You answered all my questions that I didn't even have to ask, so I appreciate that. I guess my biggest thing is, I guess this is more to my fellow board members. I think we need to get a plan in place for a superintendent search like tonight. That's not being facetious, but as soon as we can, I think we need to get a plan in place and we need to get. That's all I have.
So I got to spend a lot of time in this building today participating with the 100 Intermediate School Career Day. I didn't realize that I had so many fun things about my job till the kids so kindly pointed them out. It was very fun. Thank you guys for inviting me. I hope the kids don't get too scared of working in their lives. I also wanted to congratulate all of our children that were recognized tonight. I can't tell you how many years I've sat up here and we've been able to recognize Becher scholars and Daniel Scholarship winners. That is a great kudos to our staff. I know you guys are probably feeling that end of year stretch, but we're almost there. You could just hang in a little bit longer. Last and never least, I'd like to remind my fellow board members that there's going to be an Arbor Day celebration honoring Mr. Bill Remick happening at Tiger Trades Academy on Wednesday at 11. Of course, this is the district partnering with the city of Lahonset to make sure that we carry this on for Billy. He loved TTA and this is very appropriate and fitting. So if you all can make it Wednesday at 11.
I was gonna give you that.
I got you. I just wanted to give a shout out again to the Capturing Kids Heart Showcase Award that they got. They really put a lot of work into that and it really shows with the kids. My kid comes home all the time talking about all the things that they're doing with it. So I feel like that program is really reaching students. I also wanted to give a shout out to the Remick Closet TTA, the official name for it. But it.
Just for success.
Very good. I saw the video, very impressive. I saw it, it was good. And we were able to provide a seat for a kid for prom, which is really special, I feel like. So shout out to that. High school proms this weekend. Fun.
What was cool about the kid is that, he went and saw Lynette, we didn't know much about him, and we found out later he's the Gold Academy kid, which is one of my daughter's students. And so she was able to take some pictures with him at prom that evening, and he got prom king, so it was super cool.
Oh, nice.
I would just like to shout out to all the artists. I went to the show and I really enjoyed it. I didn't run it twice, but it was really great. And then how we honored them tonight I really liked that. Seeing all the little faces and then the primary, because I didn't get to see the primary and then y'all came. So that was, I love that. So yes, I wanted to say that was good.
Having a huge amount. So without any further business, we are adjourned. Thank you everyone for coming.